Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. We've tailored this one specifically for enterprise leaders and systems architects. Today, we're going to uncover a pretty fundamental truth about modern enterprise technology, and it's this: why buying the absolute best AI model simply isn't a sustainable strategy anymore, but building the best AI workflow absolutely is. We are going to move way beyond the hype of individual language models to really understand the architecture of true competitive advantage. To set the context right off the bat, I love this quote from technology strategist Lina Malhotra. She hit the nail on the head when she said, "Models are becoming commodities. Workflows are becoming competitive advantages." Just think about it for a second. When you build your entire business process around a single provider's API, you are essentially just renting someone else's intelligence. And honestly, renting is an incredibly risky business proposition compared to owning your own resilient architectural capability. So, it really boils down to one fundamental question. Are you renting intelligence, or are you actually building a system? This is the critical question that literally every C-suite executive and engineering lead needs to be asking right now. You have to determine if your AI investments are durable, or if they're just built on a house of cards that could completely collapse the second a vendor decides to change their pricing tier. To help you answer that, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the single model trap, look at the workflow architecture shift, break down the anatomy of compound AI, discuss building business resilience, explore the human advantage, and wrap it all up with next steps for leaders. All right, Section 1, the single model trap. It's time to move beyond this whole idea of magic box AI.
Let's contrast the two main approaches we're seeing. First, you've got single prompt AI. Honestly, this is the old, brittle way of doing things. You send all your data to one single model and just kind of pray for a perfect result. It's a massive single point of failure. On the flip side, you have workflow-based AI. This is the new resilient method. We're talking about multi-step orchestration, where the AI model is really just one gear in a much larger, much smarter machine.
And the hidden costs of that single model approach, they're huge. Relying on one model creates massive limits for your business. Think about it. If a provider suddenly changes their pricing, your operating margins can literally evaporate overnight. If your app hits peak usage, sudden rate limiting kicks in and takes you entirely offline. You're dealing with total vendor lock-in. And worse, when the model inevitably hallucinates, because they all do, you have zero automated fallbacks to catch the error. You're just completely exposed. So, let's pivot from the problem to the solution in Section 2, Architecture Shift. How are leading organizations redesigning their enterprise to escape this trap? Recent research from Megagon Labs gives us a fantastic blueprint for what this looks like. Notice the structure. Instead of a direct, fragile line to just one LLM, we use a robust orchestration platform. It uses data registries to connect to your data lakes, task planners to route instructions, and agent registries to connect to multiple different models and APIs. It's about seamlessly integrating AI into your existing enterprise infrastructure, not trying to replace the whole shebang. The industry term for this is a compound AI system. To put it simply, a compound AI system isn't just one giant brain trying to do everything at once. It's a highly coordinated team of specialized tools working together under very clear business constraints. By integrating retrievers, databases, and diverse models, you drive your operational costs way down while pushing your accuracy through the roof. And if you're sitting there thinking this is purely theoretical, think again. Major players like LinkedIn and Indeed have already moved away from monolithic models. They are currently running these compound systems in production to drive complex global HR tasks, everything from candidate matchmaking to career guidance. They already know that single models just can't handle the scale and the nuance of real-world global enterprise data. Okay, Section 3, Anatomy of Compound AI. Let's break down this complex system into the actual steps that drive outcomes. Every rock-solid workflow basically comes down to 4 essential nodes. It starts with a trigger, that's your when. Then it moves to logic nodes, which filter and sort the raw incoming data. Next up is the AI node, that's the brain actually processing the information. And finally, the action, the tangible business result. Now, a quick pro tip here. To make those AI nodes super reliable, engineers are increasingly using structured frameworks, like the CLER method. That stands for providing context, defining limits, giving examples, stating the action, and mandating a strict result format. Doing that guarantees the AI node outputs data exactly the way the next step in the workflow needs it. Let's bring this down to earth with a real example, a standard invoice processing workflow. Your trigger is a new PDF landing in an inbox. The logic node jumps in to filter out spam.
Then, the AI node uses a strict CLEAR prompt to extract the exact line items you need. Finally, the action node securely syncs that structured data straight into QuickBooks. See what happened there? We transformed a simple document upload into a complete automated financial execution. The model just provided one little step, but the workflow provided the actual business value.
Which brings us to Section 4, Business Resilience. Let's explore how orchestrating these workflows creates durable advantages. True resilience comes from a few core principles of system orchestration. First, there's comparative processing, literally running critical tasks through multiple models to catch any inconsistencies. Next is task-specific routing, sending your complex reasoning tasks to a heavy-duty model and simple formatting tasks to a cheaper, faster one. Then, you've got validation layering, having one model do the work and another model grade it. And finally, automated context preservation.
That last point is absolutely crucial. By having agent workers utilize input and output streams, you completely eliminate the human bottleneck. Because let's be real, you do not want your expensive analysts manually copying outputs from a summarizer tool, reformatting it in a spreadsheet, and pasting it into an analytics tool. These streams ensure that data and context flow seamlessly from one node to the next without any fragmentation.
Zooming out a bit to the orchestration layer, we use what are called session streams to coordinate all these different agents. It's a completely event-driven architecture. As one agent finishes a task, it broadcasts an event. Another agent immediately picks it up, processes it, and adds its own findings to the context. This guarantees that every single step enriches the data, building a much smarter, highly capable decision flow over time, and doing it completely automatically.
But wait, does this mean we're just removing people entirely? No way. Section 5, the human advantage. The most robust enterprise architectures explicitly designed for human intervention.
Since AI systems are inherently probabilistic, meaning they're essentially just guessing the next best word or action and are definitely prone to edge case failures, we have to ask, how do we safely integrate real human expertise into these flows? The answer is human-in-the-loop design. This means strategically implementing review gates where critical choices actually require a human sign-off before the system can proceed. It means building an override mechanism so your domain experts can step in and course-correct the AI, and it means integrating feedback loops so when a human does make a correction, it actually teaches the system to perform better the next time. Building these safeguards isn't failure planning, it is a strict strategic requirement for maintaining absolute quality and trust.
All right, let's wrap this up with Section 6, Next Steps for Leaders. How do we actually operationalize all of this?
I want you to bring these 3 directives to your engineering and architecture teams tomorrow. First, diversify your model vendors by building agnostic interfaces. Seriously, do not let your code rely on just one provider's specific quirks. Second, mandate automated context flow across your pipelines so your data moves without any manual copy-pasting. And third, identify your high-risk tasks and mandate human-in-the-loop review gates for them. This is how you transition your business from passively consuming AI to actively architecting durable workflows. I'm going to leave you with one final provocative question to take back to your teams. Is your AI architecture built to last, or is it just built for today? Remember, true return on investment isn't going to come from whatever shiny new model you rent this month. It comes from the resilient operational philosophy and the workflow architecture that you build yourself. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I highly encourage you to start mapping out your very first compound AI workflow this week. You won't regret it.